adversity always yields a positive result. In other words, good things come out of bad things. I suspect you all have at least one piece of past data that proves this. Good things come out of bad things. And the cool thing is, again, you can lean on that data to help you trust that at least one gift is hidden in the folds of this hard time you're going through. And in some way, somehow, it's all going to make sense in the end. So what's one piece of past data that you have that proves that good things come out of bad things? Before I wrap up, I want to share with you my favorite piece of past data that proves that good things come out of bad things. I started out doing stand-up comedy in the year 2000, the millennium. And at first, everything was great. I was performing at comedy clubs all around Toronto, and I went on tour with a one-woman comedy show. Everything was great. Then about 3 years into my comedy career, I fell into a clinical depression and suffered a high level of anxiety. I got really sick. And believe me when I tell you, doing stand-up comedy is harrowing and hard on the best of occasions. It's tough to do when you're feeling good. So when I was struggling to get out of bed in the morning and put one foot in front of the other, it seemed impossible. So one day I decided to quit. Now, when I recovered and I got back up on my feet, I didn't want to go back to comedy. I was too afraid of what the other comedians were thinking and saying about me. You see, it was the early 2000s. The stigma around mental health back then was even greater. So after I decided I wasn't going back to comedy, I made another decision. I decided to get a real job, like you folks have. And thanks to a lot of serendipity and a wee bit of nepotism, I landed a job working in a human resources office in the Ontario government. That's right. I went from stand-up comedy to sit-down comedy. Actually, as I was sitting there in my cubicle, looking around at what was going on in this government HR office, I thought to myself, you know, I shouldn't have quit doing comedy. I've got so much more new material. About a year after I got the job, a colleague of mine named Janice came to me with a proposition. Janice was on a committee of people. Janice was a yes-er. She was on a committee of people who were organizing a professional development day for our staff, and the theme of the day was wellness. So Janice knew my background. She knew that I used to do stand-up comedy. So that day, Janice came to me and asked me if I would create a funny presentation about wellness and then deliver it at this professional development day. Well, I realized it was a chance to stand on stage again, so I said yes. And a few weeks later, I got up at this professional development day and I delivered my funny presentation about wellness. And there's Janice and I on that rather auspicious day. That's right, it's so long ago that we were using flip charts. It was a smash hit. Everyone loved it. So what happened next was I started to get phone calls and emails from different parts of the Ontario government asking me to come to their event, their conference, and deliver my funny presentation about wellness. Before I knew it, I was going all around the Ontario government delivering my funny presentation about wellness. When I told my mother what was going on, she said, "Susan, leave it to you to go get a government job and still manage to go out on tour." Well, the tour has never stopped. 17 years ago, I took the leap of faith. I left that HR job to create and deliver funny presentations about wellness full-time. And I got to tell you, doing talks at events like this one this morning is far more enjoyable, far more fulfilling and meaningful than any night at any comedy club. Good things come out of bad things. So when I got sick and I quit comedy, the thing that I always wanted to do, I got caught up in this story that it was the end of the world. That's what I told myself over and over and over again. This is the end of the world. And what I mean by that is I was telling myself that I was never going to recover, right? I was washed up at the age of 27. It appeared to be the end of the world, but it turned out to be a big plot twist. That's what it was, a plot twist. That time in my life was scary, messy, and uncomfortable, but it was also necessary for my growth. Just like any protagonist in a book, a movie, or a play, it was a time of personal upheaval that led to transformation. Right? I needed that to happen for my character development. It was a time in my life, a crisis really, a crisis point that changed me in the direction of my life. You know, we often think that obstacles in life are getting in the way, right? We tell ourselves that. They're getting in the way of the plan. But the truth is, obstacles aren't getting in the way. They are the way. That obstacle isn't opposing you, it's rerouting you to where you're supposed to go. So what's a time in your life? See if you can identify this right now. What's a time in your life that was scary, messy, and uncomfortable? It wasn't fun. It wasn't easy. You told yourself it was the end of the world, but now you can see that it was a plot twist. It was necessary for your character development. It placed you on a new path that you just didn't know you were meant to take. That's your past data that can help you trust that whatever you're going through, whatever you're facing, will benefit you in some way. And somehow, some way, it's all going to make sense in the end. Even though it's hard, even though it's painful, doesn't mean it's not the best thing for you in the long run. You all have past data that proves that there is hope, even when your brain says there isn't.